Hi, this is Ben from 561 Music Podcast. Right now, we're trying to get 1,000 subscribers on YouTube. It just helps us get out there more. It also enables us to monetize the podcast, to make it better, do more advertising for it and things like that. Subscribe to the podcast and hit the notifications button. That would be doing us a really big favor. Thank you very much. Welcome to 561 Music. My name's Ben.
And I'm Hector.
How are you, Hector?
I'm doing awesome.
I see something is different about you.
Well, you know, sometimes at this age in life. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, I got a tattoo, man.
Yeah, it's dope. It's really, really cool.
It's not a cello. If anybody's looking, it's not a cello.
Yeah, man.
But
double bass. Yeah. So you're in it to win it now with Killbillies, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I have the tattoo, so I can quit Killbillies now, right? Like, that's it. I got the mark, and that's the kiss of death. And now I'm gonna be out of the band.
So last week, just before we went on tour, you said you were actually getting Killbillies tattooed on you, I showed up, and you had it there, and I was like, "Whoa, you actually did it!" And then it turned out it was a fake.
It was a fake. I got a fake Killbillies tattoo, and you were all disappointed. So then I figured, all right, I got to do something for real now.
Yeah, you've done it properly. It's great. It's starting to catch up with James and I.
Right. I got to do. I still got a ways to go to catch up to you.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. It's awesome though, man. Yeah, I love it.
This guy was pretty funny though. I walked in and he lit up like a kid on Christmas. He's like, fresh canvas.
Yeah, really, like peeing in fresh snow.
Seriously, seriously. Yeah.
So we just got back off tour, didn't we?
Oh man, that was a blast.
Yeah,
that was a blast.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that was fun.
I can't even begin to express how much of a good time I had recording at Sun Studios. It was like one of those bucket list things, you know.
Oh man, for sure. It was equal parts grueling, long hours, but exhilarating and like unreal. Pinch me, is this happening? You know? Yeah. It was very, very cool. And I mean, some of the gear we recorded with, like Elvis Presley and Carl Perkins, and
Johnny Cash,
Jerry Lee Lewis, like those guys use the same microphones that we recorded with.
I know, it's crazy. I got a picture of me playing a piano next to a wall, and above the piano on that wall is a picture of Elvis playing that piano by that wall.
By that same wall.
It's insane. I couldn't believe it.
And it was really cool. I mean, they had the modern stuff. You know, we were recording into Pro Tools and stuff, but at the same time, they had the original tapes and stuff, the original tape systems and stuff. So we were actually recording to reel, bouncing off reel to get the slap back, and then bouncing into Pro Tools, I guess, through the original console that they have revived since back in the day, which is amazing.
Yeah, and we're gonna mix it, but like we want the fact that we recorded at Sun Studios. We wanted to have a little bit of that sound, so we went with the slap back on the vocals and the guitar and everything, and also something that I thought was really good for us as a kind of acoustic sort of, I guess, kind of organic sounding band is that we did the rhythm tracks together.
Yes,
you know, and like there wasn't really any other way to do it in there. It would have been weird to do it any other way, but I'm glad that we had that kind of, I guess, sort of, sometimes limitations can be creative, you know?
Well, yeah, and it was very, very, very old school feel and very, true to that room, to the way they used to do it.
Exactly, yeah. And we were grooving with each other and in a way that I think if we'd just done it track by track, it wouldn't have been the same.
Yeah, no, it was fun, man. It was very fun,
Yeah. So we've got a great guest this week. We have Ben Rothschild. How are you, man?
Doing all right. How you guys doing?
Yeah, very well. Good. So we've known each other for a very long time, haven't we?
Very long time. You did my first ever EP.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I forgot about that. It's good times when we were... I remember we had that Black Star amp and we were dialing in tones and everything.
Yeah, getting killer tones with that amp. We were like duct taping couch cushions to the wall to treat the room and stuff. Yeah, it was cool. I was like, this is how you got to get the room. The room's got to sound right and things like that. Just like however you make it sound right is what counts. It's not. Yeah. Doesn't matter what the room is. You got to make it sound right. Doesn't matter what the amp is. You got to adjust it. You know.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of early lessons to learn for a first recording, like hands on. I probably wouldn't have thought about it the same way if I was in a proper studio in the same way, like, you know, with the control room and everything. I wouldn't have seen it in the same way.
Well,
So
they wouldn't have duct
killer.
They wouldn't have duct taped the pillows to the walls for you.
No, it was super DIY punk rock, but it was definitely
absolutely.
for me like rock, like definitely super cool, especially where
awesome.
I was at 14. You know, it was just
Yeah,
cool.
totally. Yeah, so I spent a lot of formative years sort of learning my sort of teaching trade and everything, working over there at School of Rock and stuff, and that's where we met.
Yeah, teaching's fun.
Yeah,
And like it's really rewarding when kids can't play and then they're suddenly like, can you help me write a song or something, like they express like a real genuine interest because they think it's cool because you think it's cool, and
absolutely.
you know, like that's a real rush that I can't really replicate any other way, even playing. And you can make so much more impact teaching 5 people that all go on to make music than you would with your own music.
Absolutely.
Even if none of them like become, you know, famous or whatever, it's just you're expanding your reach
That's awesome.
as a human within the arts, you know. So
yeah, and you've been
love
teaching
it.
since you were pretty young. You know, you were probably teaching when you were like 16, 17.
Probably
weren't you?
16, yeah. Officially, like assisting with groups or just being there with different, you know, like, oh, someone's not there. Can you like cover this lesson until they're there for 10 minutes and sing, you know?
Yeah.
And just, that's kind of the job for a long time.
The big thing for me with teaching that I've always loved about it is that before I taught and I was just playing music, and everything was focused on that, I found myself getting very self-involved and kind of disappearing kind of, you know, up my own ass a little bit. Like, and I found that teaching, being part of the community, doing stuff in the day, you know, and actually being out there with people, with families, with, you know, with people trusting, you know, you with their kids and everything like that. It really rounded me out as a human being, you know.
Interacting with other people.
Yeah. Not to mention making me a much better musician, because in order to explain something, you have to have a much deeper understanding of it, you know.
Yeah. I mean, for me, it's been crazy because oftentimes the kids like, I want to learn this song, like today, like now. It's like, okay, I've never heard this, and you got to just like learn it.
Yeah.
My ear has gotten so good from teaching. And, like,
absolutely.
It was good already, but it's like all of a sudden you can just like really supercharge it because you have like 40 minutes or whatever.
You and I share quite a lot of things. We share almost an identical name.
Almost identical.
You're
almost.
Ben Rothschild, I'm Ben Childs.
Yeah, it's almost there.
Yeah,
there.
and also a love of music, and I've always had a good ear to the point where when I was young, I almost neglected the other side of it, like the written side of it and stuff, you know, because I didn't really need it.
Same.
So that took a lot of work for me to kind of catch that up to the rest of it.
Yeah, especially because I come from a guitar background. And for like those listening who don't play guitar, you can kind of cheat with guitar pretty quickly. For those who want to learn, like you learn some shapes, and then you can move that. You learn an A major, you can make that B major really fast. All you got to do is move it.
Yeah.
With other instruments, you really have to have a fundamental knowledge and understanding in a different way to play them comfortably. Yeah. So I came from that background where I can just play. I can pick it up on guitar really quickly, and it's maybe a little easier to develop that when you're younger, but learning the fundamentals is harder the older you get. So I'm glad I kind of figured that out a little later. No, it's just like,
do you play any piano?
Yeah, that'll do it. Getting some piano. I have no choice. Yeah.
I can't remember from when we used to sort of when you were a student there, and then when we used to work together, how much piano you played. But are you like a proficient on it?
Yeah, we're getting there. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I spent a long time kind of transitioning to piano. With the launch pad or things like that, it's so much more similar to guitar.
Right.
And I was attracted to like the colors of the lights, and like I thought it'd look cool on stage. So I started with that.
Right.
Because I was interested in sound being different. I love guitar, and I think with effects pedals and things, you can do so many things to make it sound like not guitar.
Yeah.
And that's only gotten crazier since I've gotten into keyboards. It's like, oh well, guitar, but that's kind of its own world. Is manipulating the guitar, whereas a synth, you sound like a spaceship with like one knob turn. You know, it's
like
so much easier. You start bass line at what takes like 200 knob turns on guitar to get anywhere near that sound and sometimes a guitar or regular just acoustic bass or something just sounds heavier. It sounds bigger. There's something about that. So I'm all for trying to figure out what fits what I'm listening to at all times. But
yeah, cool.
As I got older, I started thinking about plugins and VSTs, and like I was always in bands.
Yeah.
So I was in a band.
Let's actually reel that back to the beginning. When did you first start playing music?
So I was six years old when I started playing guitar. But if I was like walking around the house with an acoustic, that was before I can really put a year on it. Like there's videos of me in a diaper walking around with a guitar.
Right.
And before I played music, I'd like draw album covers and like have fictional song titles.
Yeah,
I'd want to write them. I'd want to make them.
Yeah.
And that's still my method today. I'll make some art with like AI or something, and then like, okay, this is the art I must soundtrack now or something. It's always been kind of reversed for me.
That's
because you can make art in like 15 seconds now. I don't have to pay somebody. Versus pay. I mean, and granted, if you pay somebody, it's got that wonderful human expression to it. My friend Alex Turner did a beautiful piece for me, and that's going to be my debut album. But I've made so much art with AI that you could not tell was not made by a human being. That it's getting a little scary. I'm like, ooh, what's AI music going to be like? Yeah, they're really cool. I like them, and some of them, like there's one Discord has called Midjourney that's really intimidatingly good. And I've made some really cool stuff with it. So it's I like to kind of see it as soundtracking the visual art, but I'm not a very good visual artist, so technology's kind of brought me there.
Oh, nice.
And there's a lot of ways that like the reason I got into the Launchpad is it has a scale mode.
Right.
So you can just get rid of the other keys. So it came back to that getting to cheat thing with guitar. Yeah. So going back to just like formative stuff, I didn't want to play piano. Right. For whatever reason. I didn't like that I couldn't move or whatever, but drums you can't move, and I wanted to do that all the time.
You're a great drummer.
Thanks.
When did you first start playing drums?
When I was probably 9 or 10, like right started like hitting the drums, and then like I'd play with like my essentially big brother Alex Mandel or anyone like that just in the community to be like, you want to learn something? I'd taken like 1 or 2 drum lessons.
Right.
But I've taken lots of unofficial kind of like, let me show you this one thing lessons from lots of amazing drummers. So it's more about just like listening to a lot of people, and I have a very undisciplined approach. Like if I record something and then give it to somebody with any modicum of training, they're like, oh, well, that's kind of all over the place, but it was really hard to learn. So cool, like whatever floats your boat, like whatever makes it sound good is kind of what I'm most excited about with drums. So probably like 9 or 10, but it probably lasts like 2. Teaching drums is what's like, you got to teach beginners, and then they get pretty good pretty fast suddenly. And it's like, oh, you're doing everything that I showed you and more, so now I have to get better at the drums to not be wasting your time. So it's like that helps a lot too. So.
Yeah, it's like we were talking about before with the teaching, is it pushes you to be a better musician. You know, you don't want to be a fraud in one sense, and then in another sense, I guess it just highlights different things that you hadn't thought about. I always bring this up on the podcast. When I first came into teaching, I had a little bit of imposter syndrome, which wasn't warranted because I was perfectly good enough to teach, but it was just a kind of like a thing in the back of my head. And Justin said to me, and it's the best piece of advice I've ever been given, I must have said this 10 times on here, is find out what they don't know and teach them that. And I was like, oh yeah. And ever since then, I've just been like, fine, that was just the missing piece, and instead of like really worrying about the one thing that they're amazing at, figure out the things that they aren't good at and help them with that,
That's what it's all about.
Exactly.
Right? Like the learning the difference between practicing and playing. Like how good you are at that thing that I've heard you play 20 times during this lesson, just noodling around. Like, you're probably fine at that. What about that other thing I gave you 2 weeks ago that I haven't heard you play once? How good are you at that?
Exactly.
And I was that student too. Like I hate like certain things. Like I'm a decent trumpet player, but I didn't want to take, like, my lips would hurt. I didn't want to take the time with the embouchure. Learning the theory was always annoying to me. I was like, my ear's better. I can learn it faster just by listening to it then having to like take the time to really like write this all down. And it was also just this whole other world of music. Oftentimes, like if I'm playing trumpet on like a School of Rock song, it was like a Zappa song or something.
Sure.
So it's like jumping from like not playing trumpet to Zappa. So it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
I can oddly play some really weird hard stuff on trumpet, but not like by ear, twinkle twinkle or anything. Like it's very certain instruments I've got a good ear, I can slow it down and speed it up, and like that was the biggest tool that I've learned through like the last couple of years. Was like, oh, slowing it down makes it easier. Speeding it up. And if you can play it faster than the speed of the song, you're ready for a drummer.
Yeah, there you go.
You know, if you get 5-10% speed above, you know.
Something that James always says, who's the banjo player in Killbillies, but also has his own band, Butch and Fat Dudes, BFD, they go by now. Anyway, one of the things that he always says is, if you don't know the words perfectly or the guitar perfectly, you'll mess them both up when you play. You know what I mean? It's like if you're standing in front of everybody and you've got all the lyrics perfectly memorized, but like haven't really figured out what's going on guitar, you'll screw up the lyrics because you'll be thinking about guitar, and vice versa. You know, you've got to make sure. And something that in another way though, something that I've found is that one of the best ways to learn something is to mess it up once live. And then you know it forever after that.
I'll never lose my voice again. I mean, based off my own being stupid on tour or something, I'll never lose my voice again. Do it one time. You know, natural causes or whatever. That's a different situation. I've seen singers that I know it's not their fault that they're suddenly like, I can't. My voice is shot, man. It's like the weather or whatever. It's the human body, just like anything else. So it's gonna react. But in terms of me just doing silly things with my voice, not gonna happen again because it happened. I mean, I guess technically, if you go on tour, unless you make a whole boatload of money, you're kind of paying to be there. Yeah. Anyway, it's like you tour, and I haven't booked much tour. You know, I've toured a bunch with my band Thoughts, and my band before that, Jumbo Shrimp. We left Florida a lot, and we left South Florida a lot.
Oh, really?
But we didn't like tour.
So who was in Jumbo Shrimp? Let's give some people some shout-outs.
So Jumbo Shrimp. Jumbo Shrimp was myself, Dylan Thomas.
Yeah.
And I'm just gonna name everyone that was in it because we had a couple people come and go through the years. But myself, Dylan Thomas, Angel Lizer.
Yeah. What's up, Angel?
John Cardillo III.
Yes, John.
Walker McMillan.
Yeah.
And Austin Cluin.
Right.
And that was the 5-piece lineup with Austin. He was killer on sax.
Austin's amazing.
We had 2 saxophone players at the time. It was
really, who was the other sax player?
Dylan is an amazing saxophone player too.
Did they used to do parts together and stuff?
We had a couple where they would harmonize, but then we would lose the advantage of 5 people and we're basically a trio with 2 horns, which was still cool. Yeah. But with our stuff, it was so layered plus horns that it kind of lost that feel. So I was like, okay, both of you trade. Like we did a killer Shout cover and they would both take like a long sax solo. But
could Jumbo Shrimp do the kind of full 3-hour kind of type sets?
We would do like an hour and a half, 2. Right. I think we probably did a 3 in our final lineup. Like the lineup we had, so with myself, Dylan, Walker, and Angel, that was a super jammy lineup. So we might not have 3 hours of material. Sure. But we can play 3. We can play for 3. We played Copper Blues a couple times, like the late nights slot. I think that was a 2-hour slot for us. We played it during the day, and I think it was 3, but it was like, I don't think Angel could make that gig, so I was on bass, and it was like a very thrown together 3 hours. So we would do stuff like that. Yeah. Thoughts did it almost exclusively at a certain point. That was kind of our bread. And I loved playing gigs like that. As long as we can still play our stuff. And I'd love to do, that's kind of what I want to do with my set. I played Small a couple nights ago. I did not stop for 3 hours. I just don't, I'll take a sip of water, but the music, something's still going. That's cool. I think I talk too much in general. So if I have a microphone, suddenly there's this voice in my head telling me to shut up the whole time. Right. And that just makes everything I say sound awkward as hell. So maybe I could have something rehearsed, but then that's not genuine either. Right. And so every show's different. Going. Yeah, I just keep it going, and the set every song has an intro and an outro, and I can just kind of blend between them, and that's what works best for me so far, at least. Subject to change, maybe, I don't know.
You're a quite a unique sort of case for this question, but one of the things that I ask is like, how was your family supportive, and what were your early kind of musical influences, and how did it all affect you? But of course, you essentially grew up in a music school, didn't you?
So I was already playing with Mike Kerr at Jupiter Music at the time when I was 6. That was my first guitar teacher.
Really, Mike was?
Yeah, Mike. That's
cool.
That's how we found Mike. I still can go to Mike and be like, "What's this? Does this pedal sound good?" And he's still the absolute. Mike's the guy I heard about Ableton Live from first too, just at various points. Just a killer musician and like a cool influence to have around. But I was with him already, and my dad loved that he was. Saturday was like our day.
Right.
We'd go get my lesson, and then we'd go to Dune Dog.
Right.
And just like that was my Saturday every week. It was like my cool thing with Dad. So he liked that he got to see me grow up through music, and my mom did too. It just wasn't the activity I got to do with her. She'd be like, "Are you practicing?" Put the timer on for 10 minutes, like make sure I'm actually. Are you practicing, or is that just random stuff?
Yeah.
Are you doing what Mr. Mike asked you to do? So they wanted me to be good at music because they want me to be good at something.
Yeah.
Like I tried soccer. I was very, very bad at soccer. I did t-ball for a while once my dad couldn't be my coach. I didn't really want to do it. I did coach pitch.
Right.
I'm also left-handed, and I was like right on the precipice of kid pitch.
Right.
They apparently whack lefties. That's what I heard. It's not intentional. It's just how it goes, and no thanks.
Right.
I'm too short for basketball. Football's scary.
Hockey,
equally scary. Like all the sports just didn't seem like my thing.
Yeah.
And
I ended up doing like sort of running, and there's this really silly game called fives, right? Which is basically handball. Yeah. And all the people that didn't really want to play sport, that's what they played in England.
Yeah.
Like at my school, you had to wear this glove, and they it's such a weird game, right? It's like a squash court or a racquetball court, except in the middle of the court there's like a piece of buttress sticking out because it's meant to emulate the side of a wall in Eton, like the school of Eton. So it's not even the court just makes no sense. Basically, it just has this thing sticking out in the middle of it, and and only like posh people play it because it's just like a thing for like private school thing. And so that was if you didn't want to do any sport, you could do that type of sport, and that's what I did.
Yeah, I was a really just like, I don't know, sports weren't my thing. I did Taekwondo. It was required at my school, believe it or not. They were like, well, it was a weird little private school, and most of you guys are kind of weeby. We should probably teach you guys self-defense. Like,
okay, yeah.
I remember hearing that very young. Like, you are gonna need to learn how to defend yourself at some point. This is just gonna be that type of life for you. And it was I mean, I love watching MMA now, but I hated Taekwondo as like a 8-year-old kid having to do it. But I didn't like anything they were trying to make me do. But I liked music. I loved my lessons. I loved practicing. So my parents were always super supportive of that. And then when
your dad, Brig, is very knowledgeable about music, and also pretty opinionated on it. How much would you say his tastes affected yours?
As I've gotten older, less and less. Right. But as I was growing up, like before I was even playing music, like he'd be driving me to school, and like first it was Simon & Garfunkel, Jim Croce, James Taylor, like very nice, like soothing soft rock, and then it was like the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and then he's like, "Are you ready for? I don't know if you're old enough for Zeppelin." Right. I think you might be old. Like certain things, it was kind of formative growing up. Very Rolling Stone magazine top 500 albums of all time. Like very 98.7 The Gator,
right.
Which is all. I mean, I love that. That's where my formative influence kind of lies. First, like 10 years of stuff I was listening to, and I didn't really care about anything else after the place opened. To be honest, like I stopped caring about school. I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but like rock and roll is gonna be involved, and I do not need a degree for that. So why am I'm in 8th grade. Why do I care? However old I just don't. I don't care. Like I would say this to teachers. Like I just need a C in your class, and my parents don't get mad.
You went to Bach and Dreyfus, right?
Bach and Dreyfus, and I loved school, especially because that school had like Bach less so.
Yeah.
But by the time I was in Dreyfus, it was like 7 girls for every 1 guy. Like,
oh my word.
It's like
that's incredible.
Yeah, and it's a fun. I mean, but that's one reason to like it as a dude. But as just like a person, it's just like our motto was keep Dreyfus weird.
Right.
You know, they let my band play at lunch, and not all of us went there. Like, I just remember like walking around with John Cardillo. Like, I'm playing This is Sex on Fire by Kings of Leon, and like. Yeah. They didn't unplug me, you know, like they probably should have.
So what for the uninitiated, like so what is different and special about Dreyfus in terms as opposed to other schools?
So I believe it falls under the category of magnet charter school, right? I'm not sure what our deal is, but you did have to audition to go, and only a perfect score is for sure in. Okay. Is the thing with how that whole lot. Maybe it's changed since I was a freshman and since I got him, but like my score, like I had friends with much better auditions than me. This always makes me feel terrible that got lotteried out and I got lotteried in.
Right.
And so that's just kind of how that goes. So I was a theater major at Dreyfus. I don't know. So at Bach, I went 7th and 8th grade. I didn't get in. I went for vocal and trumpet. And I did all right on the trumpet audition, but it was my second, and I don't think you can't like get in on your second and not your first. I think like I don't. It might not have been passing thinking about it. I don't know, but it was better than vocal. Like vocal, I came in and played. I accompanied myself on acoustic, which is not. It's like choir. So for me I think I did. Styx song, "Fooling Yourself" by Styx,
right,
on like acoustic guitar, and they were like, "Wow."
That's cool.
That was for Bach?
Yeah, that was for Bach. Yeah,
nice.
6th grade, like going in for 6th grade, like they were like, that's a very different audition than anything else I've seen today. And it was cool. Like the trumpet audition was cool too. But when I went for 7th grade, I went for theater and just for theater. I don't know what the deal was. I went to this summer camp called Interact, which I don't think exists anymore. But the whole thing for me was I just like the games. There's like Freeze or Mafia or whatever. Like it's the games, right? And then they're like, no, you gotta like act. But I learned like
words and
like
stuff.
I learned like vocal warm ups and stuff through theater and stuff. So that was really cool. It's very different singing.
Your daughter?
Yeah, my daughter went to Bach and she's actually in Dreyfus now. She's gonna start next week, her junior year.
Yeah,
sweet.
So
what's her major?
She does communications.
Cool.
So she does photography and all that stuff. But yeah, she absolutely loves it. And same thing. Like she says it like they'll have like some kids playing in a band that like they'll play at lunchtime and stuff like that. And she tells me the motto also. Keep Dreyfus weird.
I wonder. Like you should ask if there's a club. I'll have to like send the information after and like look it up. But there was a club I started that I know still does shows, or at least still did shows later, like a couple years later. I don't know if they still do it, but
that's cool.
That was cool. Yeah, it's like I don't know, very like I guess to like long answer, like shortened, like super for the parents to the point where like that was what he like kind of made his thing. My dad just like a chance to see us grow, my sister and myself grow up through music, and like my sister is a rippin', shout out to Sid,
what's up, Sid?
rippin' bass player, rippin' trumpet player, like really good teacher intuitively, like just like certain things like I'm just like I noticed like familial similarities. It's just cool. Like, okay, we can both teach.
I taught Sid for a long time.
Yeah,
she's a sweetheart. She's
cool.
Cool.
She's sweet, and she's like super just
down to earth.
Yes,
she's got some grit to her.
Yes, down to earth, but with some grit. That's a good description. It's just like she's been like that pretty much since birth.
That's awesome.
So yeah, it's cool. Like I think like just in general, like the family's super supportive, and like the community in South Florida has always been really supportive for me. I haven't been here long enough to try and play Sunfest next year, but like both my bands were fortunate enough to play Sunfest at points growing up, and that was like, I don't know, my Dreyfus is like right there.
Yeah.
So to be a high schooler, like I played like right over there, it's like walking around, just like it was just cool. It was one of those things I really enjoyed growing up here as a musician.
Sure.
And then I went to Philly And I love, Philly's super cool.
So you, when you went up to Philly, you were living with Angel, right? And you were you pushing your band Thoughts at the time.
Yeah. So and we moved up with our former drummer Roman Condi as well.
Right,
So Thoughts pretty much had Roman, Angel, and myself for the whole period of the band, like different.
How long were you together?
So Thoughts, pretty much Angel and I exited Jumbo Shrimp in the summer of 2017. Like I graduated high school.
How old were you at the time?
I was 18.
Okay.
She was 19. And the main reason for that, like there was like just petty band drama stuff, but like I recorded with Dylan and Walker like 2 nights ago. It's not. We got over that really quickly after we weren't in a band with each other. It was just one of those things.
Kids,
it's like I want to tour, man. I want to go on tour, and you're still in high school for like years.
Yeah,
I'm not waiting till summertime to go on tour, man. And tour is cool if you saved up for it and you got food and all that. Like my first tour was crazy. It was Angel's Hyundai Sonata, which is not a big car with a car topper. And Mitch Nilo was also in our band for a while. He plays keys and bass around, but he was just keys.
Right.
For us. So we were a 4-piece at various points, and we still squeezed into that car as a 4-piece too. That was a fun tour.
I've been there.
Yeah.
We actually did a tour in a car just last week, except it was a huge car.
It was a huge car. Almost just shy of a bus.
Yeah. But I've been there, mate, in the little cars touring around. It's a good time.
Like the kick drum needed to be its own seat.
Yeah.
And the only way we could do it was putting it in the front seat, so it's like the driver and then 3 in the back seat. It was nice and cozy.
Yeah.
Cozy. You get to know each other really well.
So
But
what ended up happening with Thoughts? Is the band still a thing? And B, what did you release? Were you on any labels or anything like that?
Yeah, so Thoughts was on 2 labels. And this kind of happened with Shrimp too, but with Shrimp it was more me being like, I wrote the songs and I want my songs, and like just like little just just like admittedly very petty stuff in the moment, but like it wasn't anger. It was just like I want to go on tour and I still want to play these songs and I don't want to kick people out. I'd rather just quit, and you guys can have everything else. Take the Facebook page, but I want my songs.
Okay.
Which, if anything, is the move John Fogerty would have tried to make. You know, it's like I wrote it's just one of those things. But with Thoughts, it was much more of like a prolonged thing. Like a lot of it comes down to like, I mean, Angel and I started Jumbo Shrimp with Dylan when I was in 8th grade.
Yeah.
And not even 13.
I think it was a thing before I'd even met you.
Yeah. Like we wanted to record, but we'd been doing enough stuff to have an EP ready.
Yeah.
You were pretty new to the school when we started that recording. It was like one of those things. So I think 8th grade, and the band like started, and then we took summer off. Like someone was out of town for summer or something, so something was going on. We didn't have a band, and I was doing like acoustic shows. And then I was like, I want to play with a drummer. Like I was having Mandel and Rocky, Alex Mandel, Rocky Rucker, shout out.
Yeah.
They were my Jets, so to speak. Benny and the Jets. They would like come and like, I would do acoustic, and then they'd play like the last like 4 or 5 songs with me. We'd do like I'm a Believer.
Yeah.
And Good Times, Bad Times or something.
That's a hell of
cool.
a rhythm section.
Yeah. Just absolutely. They made me sound so good. I could just have just like not played and sang only, and they would have been still really good. Hell of a rhythm section. And I was just like playing all my own stuff, or they would like listen to me play and just play. Like we didn't rehearse really. They were just incredible listeners when they play. And so that was cool, but I wanted to. They're not going to start a band with me. I'm 12, and
sure,
it's like maybe when I got a little older, like Mandel and I've always had fun recording with each other when we're, but it's always like we got that one beat we've been working on for like 8 years, it's stuff like that. We've never put any of it out or finished recording any of it. But a lot
Alex
of the
has a ton of music.
He has so much music,
yeah.
And I've been telling him for so long that I love 90% of this, and the 10% is a matter of taste.
Yeah.
Like, other people are going to love a different 90% of this, and there's nothing you can do about it. Yeah. There's, like, just stop tweaking it, put it out, because this is, like, going to eat away at, like, this is why I want to put a song out a week all year, because I took the songs with Shrimp. I took them as a power ego trip move, but with Thoughts, we were just in the midst of a label re-release. So we were on Mint 400 Records.
Right.
And the first EP was just Angel and myself, and then we did 2 EPs and a bunch of singles with them and an album with them.
Right.
Which was what we owed them per. Like, it wasn't like a 10-year contract or something.
Did they pay for recording or anything like that?
I mean, they maybe would have.
Was it mostly just the
it was like radio
promotion
promotion.
stuff like that?
Yeah, college radio promo.
I mean, essentially labels, that's what they are now, isn't it? They're glorified promotions companies. There's the physical aspect of it, or the recording costs. I mean, is there any that even do that? Maybe you got signed by Warner or something like that. But I mean, apart from that,
Yeah, I mean, and I know one guy signed to Warner, and it's more of like a, they might have given him an advance, and then he'll like invoice them Airbnbs if he goes somewhere to record.
Okay.
So he can just experience the locale or whatever, but he's still doing it with the same setup that he was doing it before he signed with Warner Brothers.
Right.
You got to be signable by Warner Brothers for them to want to sign you in the first place.
Yeah.
You need to not need them for them to really want you.
The DIY aspect of music has almost become de rigueur at this point. It's like, that's, people are looking to jump onto a finished product that's already working.
Yeah. I mean, to develop an artist it's not a 50-50 chance.
Yeah.
It's not. I mean, yes, technically it either works out or it doesn't, so it's a 50% chance, but it's really like one in millions worldwide. It's crazy,
And there's so many people doing it themselves very well that why wouldn't you just grab one of those? Yeah, exactly.
Yes. And I also think it's never, and this to me is a good thing. Anytime people are like, it's a pro and a con, I'm like, no, it's just a pro. It's never been easier to make music or put it out. Yeah. I mean, it cost me more to put out 4 covers, so I'm putting out a couple cover songs in a couple weeks. I did Ooh Baby Baby, The Miracles, Smokey Robinson. Cool. They're all like synthed out and stuff, but I did A Whole Lot of Love, which is like probably my favorite of the 4. I did a group of 4 of them. Baba O'Reilly and I Know I'm Losing You, The Temptations.
I'm looking forward to hearing Baba O'Reilly.
Yeah,
that's interesting.
Baba's fun. Yeah, Baba's fun. It's probably the most of all of them. It's the most similar.
Okay.
To the actual Baba.
Because there's a lot going on there.
Yeah, it's very synthy. Yeah, it's like to kind of like circle back to the whole like how much did your dad's opinion on music? Like my dad hated the '80s. It's just like the synths ruined music. I think that opinion's he not always. He'll admit Purple Rain's a masterpiece. Right. Jump's a great. The synth doesn't universally mean it's worse.
Yeah. Sure.
But I had to learn that myself. Kind of. Like there's great hair metal songs out there.
Yeah.
I had to learn that from my own, forming an opinion.
Yeah, but spending all this time teaching, the last over a decade teaching, it really has worn the rough edges off my kind of musical sort of snobbery. It's like, if you met me 15 years ago and said, in 15 years, there will be some Journey songs that you like, I would have been like, nope. Not happening.
They
Sorry.
got some bops, man.
What are you talking about, man?
No shame.
Journey's a jam.
Yeah, I don't know. Like
but I was just too much of a punk. I was like, no, I get it now.
Yeah, I don't know.
Don't stop believing, man.
I'm so glad. I'm so glad I got past that. Like a couple years ago, like I've got High School Musical in my bops playlist right next to The Roots.
Yeah.
Next to
exactly
whoever. It just doesn't. A bop's a bop. A good song is really good.
I was so concerned with what I didn't like, and so someone occasionally used to say to me, a close friend of mine was like, "Well, tell me something you do like, like turn it round, and that was, I think the teaching and just getting older and having more life experience has really helped me to just open up my musical taste. I think this is really anything, stylistically that I won't listen to, and I'm more likely to like something than not, or find something in it that I do like,
Yeah. I mean, I think just being open-minded with your ears is great. Like I listened to
open-eared.
I listened to like Spangle for the first time a couple nights ago. Just like
that's my people. They're
like
from
how did
where I went to school in Dorset.
Really, really. But just like some of the most crazy listening I've ever had. Like listening to it on headphones and then watching some of the live stuff, and it's like this is so outside of the realm of what I thought I would enjoy, and I did. It just appeared in my, the corner, It's like there's these little far reaches of the internet now with YouTube and things like that. Like, you know, I'd never listened to like 90s drum and bass breaks or anything.
Sure.
And like suddenly like there's like 20 different channels with all these modern drum and bass producers like appearing on my YouTube.
Yeah.
Because I watched one synth video and the guy used this one drum pattern that's kind of drum and bassy, and then it all kind of circles around, and you suddenly the algorithm picks up and you like drum and bass because that's what you've been. And that's I mean, I sometimes that's a bad thing, sometimes it's a good thing to some people, but for me it hopefully just it's just a thing. Like just need to harness
down
it.
Some
like,
kind of like true players
harness
rabbit
the power
hole.
of the algorithm. If you can, I haven't figured it out, and maybe I won't. Like maybe that's up to someone else to harness. Good on them. But like I'm just gonna keep putting stuff out, and hopefully one of them is on the related of some big video or something. And that's,
well, that's what happened
you know?
with this podcast. At one point, we just hit a vein. And like for a few of the episodes, we were getting multiple tens of thousands of views, and I don't know why or how, or did it stay around? No, will it come back? Hopefully, but it's just who knows why that happened. I don't.
And you hope you keep people from those waves. If you get like 30 active viewers from that are like, I'm gonna click every time I see. It takes a couple times to see your name on there before they want to click again.
We have picked up a lot of followers in the last, I would say, like 2 months.
We have.
Yeah, which
like
is really
real
good.
ones as opposed to the just the random glut of views that we got at one point.
Yeah.
And I think we actually got some followers from that too.
We did.
We did. Yeah. That was just such a weird thing. It was like we were. Hector called me one day and he's like, I don't know why, but the last week's video has like 30,000 views in like 3 days. We're like,
it was crazy.
What?
It was
Are we
crazy.
famous?
Right. Yeah, we were, I was like, Ben, did you buy views? He's like, no. I'm like, I didn't buy views. I don't know what's going on. And that just kept happening. And it kept happening. And every video that was coming out was like 20, 30, 40,000 views.
You find the algorithm.
Yeah.
And I've had students explain to me like, well, you just haven't found the TikTok algorithm, but you just need to make them watch like up to 6 seconds of the video and they'll stay. It's like, oh, so they see my face and they're like, oh, he's about to play music.
Yeah.
Scroll. Like I have to already sound good immediately. That's part, like it's a bite size.
So you're doing a lot of the TikToking, are you?
Nah.
No.
I mean, so what I'll do is I'll upload the artwork to TikTok in like a kind of fitting the TikTok dimensions, and then DistroKid uploads it to TikTok in preview form for you.
Gotcha.
So then you can just add it as the actual audio, and then they know that it's the actual song in the video. But it's there for completion sake, just so I can say yes, I'm on TikTok. Like I have a Twitter, but I don't tweet, I've reshared. I've reshared, like, there's this producer named Bad Snacks. She's like synth violin. And just in general, her YouTube channels taught me a lot about just sound design and things. But she runs her violin through all these pedals and like distortion and like really makes it sound crazy. And like every time she shares tweets something out, that's the only thing I'll share her. Because it's always like producer things, and it's like it hits me in the heart a little bit too hard. It's like, well, you're not really a producer unless you have 300 plus unfinished Ableton projects or whatever.
Is that what you use? What DAW do you use?
So recently it's been Ableton mostly. I'll do some. A lot of my mixing is right in the moment with Ableton. I don't like mixing in post with it, so I just get levels right, and then if I don't hear the vocal. And if I can't hear things, and I'll ask my girlfriend if it sounds clear, like, do you hear the little bloop-de-bloop on the right side of the ear? On that one part, I don't really care if it sounds muddy elsewhere, just, I want that one very specific, do you hear that part?
Right.
And I like those mixes way better, but if it's something that I can't get the mix right, I'll mix with Logic, because that's what I started with, and that's what I'm, like, it's really mixing with. I'm comfortable with Logic.
Yeah, me too.
And Logic also, if I'm not getting the vocals right, Logic has a immensely better take system than Ableton's take system.
Right.
So you can just go, I'll do like 5 to 10 takes just all the way through and then kind of comp a vocal. With Ableton, I just get it right. And so either way, it makes me work differently, but mostly Ableton.
Have you ever learned how to use Pro Tools?
Yeah, so Palm Beach State has a recording arts program, so I did take like 4 classes for that, and that was all Pro Tools.
I'm pretty clumsy
that was cool.
in that. We actually got our album recorded in it, and we're having Yaz, a guy who works here at Live Music Vinny, and you know Yaz very well.
Yeah. Known Yaz a long time.
Yeah, and we're having him get it out of Pro Tools for us because don't know my ass from my elbow in it, to be honest with you. I'm okay, but it's just I don't want to mess it up and accidentally.
I'm of the belief that they made Pro Tools just hard enough that you have to kind of get an official course somewhere.
Gotcha,
spend an extra time. They made it just hard enough. It's not. It's like everyone that uses it, that knows it, is like Logic's for creating music or whatever, and Pro Tools is for recording music, and that's like the tagline they always say. And I'm like, I think whatever you're comfortable with the workflow in is great for recording music.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
whatever you can record the audio into, that's great. But just whatever. So if Ableton is comfortable for me, the Force that I use for my live sets has a lot of synths in it too. So I've made stuff with that, and what's cool is you can load that right into Ableton. So the file just goes right in. I use some groove boxes too. Like Roland has an MC101, which is really cool. It's like a little clip launcher. Like I can like throw it in my backpack. It's battery powered.
Nice.
But it's like Roland sounds, so it sounds really good.
That's cool.
But for the most part, like it's just been Ableton or the GarageBand app on my phone.
Oh, there you go.
There's a lot of beats or like the I won't do the vocals on there. I won't do like audio, but there's like MPE support. You can bend with it. Like there's certain things where it's like, wow, I'd need like a Roly Seaboard or something to get this.
Yeah.
So I've made like whole beats where it's like I just want to like sit down and make a beat for the next 20 minutes and I make the whole song. It's whatever's fastest and most comfortable. I don't really care, but I do the vocals.
When you're releasing stuff for the public, are you mastering it?
A little bit. If I don't like how it sounds, I'll master it.
Gotcha.
Which is often. So like I've tried. Like I have a friend Anthony Gata up, and I think he's in Jersey now, but I met him in Philly. He did some mastering for me. And in the past with bands, I've had, his name's Daniel Colombo, who I met through Scott Gaylor, who I think Scott came on, right?
Oh, yeah.
Scott's like one of my longtime mentors.
Yeah,
and just
Scott's
like a
the homie, man. He's
like
a cool
a second
guy.
father to me.
Yeah.
And like Scott kind of co-mastered and mixed with Daniel once for me too with Thoughts. So I've used Daniel a couple times. My friend Chase Benson, who I met through School of Rock, has mastered for me a little bit. But oftentimes I'll just like throw a limiter on the master bus and just turn it up. I'm like, that sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Let's do it on the phone. Okay, like I know whatever the proper way is cool. It's great to know that, and I'll pay someone to do that that's learned that.
Yeah.
But provided it sounds good, I'm happy.
I get it.
You know, it's so sometimes I don't need to, and sometimes it doesn't sound bad when I lazily try to do it.
Yeah.
I tried that Lander thing once too.
Right.
Lander worked, but it was like obscenely loud. So I could have made it quieter, but then I didn't notice any real.
I've been all about the
difference,
isotope plugins and just trying to get do it like that. That's where I'm at.
That's probably like my next thing that I get into because it's time to stop buying synths for a while and stop buying guitars. It's like I'm done.
So what do you got with regard to synths then? Have you got some interesting ones?
So yeah, a couple. So the Behringer Poly D is my current kind of the one that I'm exploring the most because it's basically a Model D.
Right.
But with a fourth oscillator, and you can make it polyphonic.
Yeah.
So it's weird because if you play one note, they all share a bunch of stuff within the architecture that a true polyphonic synth wouldn't.
Right.
So if you play one note and then you play the next note, it plays both notes. It's always that could be something that really pisses me off, but I've just been kind of using it on purpose as kind of as a tool. So that's really cool. The DeepMind 12 is really cool by Behringer. It's really underrated.
Yeah.
And it's super. There's like I want a Polybrute by Arturia really bad, or at least I did. It's like $2,700 or something, and ridiculous. Since it's like I have friends where it's like, but dude, you could buy a boat with that money. Like seriously, like could buy a boat with a not a canoe, like a boat with a motor, and like maintain it for a little bit, like with that money.
Yeah.
Like a Moog 1's like $8,000 used, like minimum. It's like, oh my gosh, I want that. So I really want that.
We were trying to get an 808 for Hector because he wanted to do an 80s project, and I was saying, instead of using a looper, it'd be really neat if you had like a vintage synth, like drum machine next to him, and he played along with that. But then he was looking at like the actual vintage ones, and they're like 20 grand or something.
Yeah,
like
they're
an old
stupid expensive.
Yeah.
And I had, I mean, back in the day, back in the 80s, I mean, I had synths and stuff, and I mean, I played them quite a bit, and like I had an old like Yamaha DX7 and stuff, and you look those things up now, and they're like you said, I probably bought that back then for like $700, and it was like a steal back then.
Yeah.
And now they're probably like 20 grand. You can't get them.
It's cool. I'm glad Behringer exists. There's like this whole debate as to where you are on like the moral side of that argument, but I don't care. I can't afford the real companies.
I'm not a big fan of their guitar pedals, but I have to say some of the other stuff they do is great. I think the synths are great.
Yeah. I mean, maybe the quality control is not as good as a $1,200 sequential or something, but I can't afford a $1,200 sequential. They're really cool, like that. They're really, really, really amazing sounding, and
there was
iconic,
a time when Behringer was terrible. And
yes,
that time has passed. They make decent stuff.
Yeah,
now.
they do. That time is gone. It's more of like are they stealing property law, copyright, all that jazz? But like the Microkorg's a really cool synth. I've made a bunch of stuff with the Microkorg, like a bunch.
I love that thing.
There's a couple of bass presets in there that rip like way harder than anything I've managed to program myself on like big Moogs or anything. It's just astoundingly cool sounding. So that is kind of my, oddly enough, it's like a weird bread and butter thing, but recently those have all been like kind of at the schools since I've been back in town. I've just kind of got places I can go play loudly late at night at either location, wherever I am. I can either come in early or stay after and just record. But at home I've got my live setup basically, and then Yamaha makes a Reface, like the Reface series keyboards. They're little. There's a Reface CS synthesizer. It's like the white one of that series.
Right.
It's really simple. It's 10 voices, and it's amazing. Like I have yet to find a thing in it, a sound in it that I don't like. It can do. It takes like 3 seconds to make a sound in it, so there's no need for presets.
Yeah.
So I might start bringing that to shows at some point soon, because that one's really cool, and the morphing aspect of it is really cool. So that's the synth that I'm kind of, I don't want to go too off like into synths, but that's the one that I feel like I can make it sound really quickly
like
the way, actually design a sound where every other synth I have, like the DeepMind's amazing, but there's so much you can do with it that I feel like I can't do anything.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It's almost overwhelming.
Yeah, the presets are great, so then I just tweak them.
Yeah.
And that's great too. I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. Like, there's nothing wrong with just using presets. Like, it's not that no one's gonna know that you used preset R8 on a DeepMind. Like no one who. Like I have to kind of remind myself of that the more I do, especially electronic music.
There are people out there who care, but are they? Does it matter? There's like 8 people in the world who care.
and if they, especially if you just add, I add a lot of synth layers on my stuff. It's like, especially once it's EQ'd, and
it's true.
It's so far away from sounding like it did over the speakers in the DAW when they hear it on their phone speakers anyway.
No, that's absolutely true.
Like there's so many. I'm a big plug-in person, so I use the synths because I'm trying to get better at keyboards. That's like my current thing with them.
Cool.
But if I need to like shred or something.
Do you still practice your instruments at home?
Yeah, every day. I teach guitar a lot. I teach drums a lot, but I play guitar for me every day for at least a half hour. And I play Launchpad every day for at least a half hour because I've got that's like my two. I didn't play guitar in the videos, but that's kind of my 2 main instruments.
Yeah.
I've got to get better at like just working on my vocal craft a little bit more every day. Just being disciplined with that.
Talking of videos, have you ever made any music videos?
So Thoughts had a video for Tethered, which was one of our songs. I haven't made any for myself yet. I've made lots of live content. So
I feel like I saw one where you were on a roof or something like that.
That's Thoughts.
Okay,
that was a Tethered video. And I still, that song's still out, Tethered by Thoughts.
Oh, cool.
And I love that song. That's one of my favorite songs I've ever written.
Nice, yeah.
So
it was a jam.
Yeah, it's a bop. Like it makes me kind of want to dance, and I like when I made something that makes, because I'm super judgmental of my stuff. I just don't. I never think it's as good as it could be, and so then I've kind of gotten back into this whole like, well, it sounds better when I stop touching it.
Yeah.
And I just kind of let it be like that first take,
a
that
wise
first
man
idea.
once said, "A mix is never finished; it's just abandoned." You know?
Yeah, I mean, it's the more you tweak, the more I tweak, at least, the more I kind of take it down a rabbit hole. On occasion, I find myself with this perfect mix. I'm like, I have to do this.
Yeah.
Every time. I'll take the time, I'll do it, and then I'm 8 hours deep, and I A/B it with the rough mix where I just send it all in with just what I'd done.
And it's like,
in
which
the box,
is
and I was like,
honestly better, yeah.
It's not
And you
even
get like
close.
ear fatigue and all that stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I've also had it where, like, I was in bands and like with Thoughts, we had one mix that we were on past number 9.
Yeah.
And Chase, who was mixing it for us, my friend Chase Benson, was, you know, he was really trying to stay calm, but we're contradicting each other with the mixes and all these things. So this is more of a band mix issue than a me with mixing my own stuff. But like I remember him saying, dude, I'm going to just send you guys the first mix and see if anyone notices a difference.
Yeah, yeah.
And no one did. Everyone's like, wow, it's perfect, thanks. And this was the one that we had all the notes for.
Yep.
So sometimes that's just how, like,
you build up this great sort of castle in your imagination about what it is, and it's actually just based on nothing. Yeah.
Sometimes you're just too close to it, you know?
Yes.
You've listened to it too many times, you sang it too many times, you've played it too many times, and then you go and you go back and you listen to the mix, and you just start nitpicking things that don't need to be nitpicked.
Totally. And also pride starts getting in the way, because you're like, if you start sort of being like, well, I want this to be a certain way, you can start obsessing over it, and then if someone disagrees with you and you start butting heads for no reason, you know, there's all these other factors than what it actually sounds like, you know?
Yeah. I mean, and then by the time you're talking about what the sound is, you're not necessarily in the mood to be talking about it. You know? It's why did they talk about my guitar tone?
Yeah,
it's my guitar. What do you mean it's muddy? I don't think it's muddy. It's my tone.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like sometimes, like if you're tired or whatever it is, it's just not. We are human beings making art as a unit. That in and of itself is a sentence that requires pondering every time you do it to do it well. So like I'd love to start bands again. I think collaboration is beautiful, but if I'm starting any band again, it's like everything's gonna be split. I'm done with the band. Let's have fun. I'm done with the band drama shit. Like
absolutely.
And
everything with Killbillies is just, you know, you just split down the middle. We just all kind of just, you know, it's a team, you know.
Yeah.
And that's the whole
we're
point
on the
of it.
same team.
Yeah.
It shouldn't. I've read way too many autobiographies. Like the John Fogerty one is especially, like, if you haven't read that, it's especially riveting, because it's like his brother's on the deathbed. He's like, I'm not forgiving you. It's like, oh jeez. It's like, wow. You know, it's like it goes that deep. You know, it's like this is, and non-musicians just like my girlfriend doesn't understand really. She's like, you know, you just worked like a 7-hour shift playing music and teaching music. Like, don't you want to not work on music right now? And it's like, well, that wasn't mine.
Yeah.
Now I'm like in the mood and everyone's asleep and I can just work.
Yeah.
She's like, but I'm here.
Yeah.
It's like, I know. I don't want to. I have this really good idea. It's really good. You know,
I hear you, man.
You know, it's like it's one of those things, especially when you can just make it yourself. Like you can just do it. Yeah. Or like, but with bands, like I will definitely be starting groups again. Like I'll still do those, but I also think like the Crosby, Stills and Nash way is good if you're already doing stuff separately.
Yeah.
Just everyone is also technically you're all credited as a solo artist on it on every song.
Yeah.
You know.
That's a good way of doing it too.
It's just kind of if you're someone like myself who's dropping so much solo material that it's like I'm not stopping this. You know.
Talking of your solo material, I think now would be a great juncture to listen to some of it. Does that sound like a good idea?
Rock and roll. Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
to know I got lucky finding someone who loves me so soon. Really, I don't know, but I'm starting to think so. And the love the way she is, I need it, I need it. I turn to you, and your eyes that sparkle, ooh, with the look is like a dream. Truly, and the stars just seem to me, this is what romance should be. I really wish I could capture feelings. I wish I could save this moment between you and me. The feeling's just so appealing, 'cause I know that you still believe in the love we were called to build up. You trust me, I have for you. In the love we were called to build up. You trust that I have you. Now I got butterflies in my belly. I am. It's the smile on her face, spreading its love at me. I really wish I could save a moment. I really wish I could save a moment. I really wish I could capture feelings. I wish I could save this moment between you and me. The feeling's just so appealing, 'cause I know the love we were called to build up. With the trust that I have for you. With the love we were called to build up. With the trust that I have for you. I really wish I could capture feelings. I wish I could save this moment between you and me. The feelings are so appealing, 'cause I know that you still believe the love we were called to build up. And the trust that I have for you. The love we were called to build up. And the trust that I have in you. think of the good times. Remember those days. Think of the good times and everything was okay. I thought that I was somehow immune to your charms, but I didn't realize you'd taken over my heart until it was too late to stop. What it was. Oh, everything I've said to you, it's hard to believe it was so true. What did I get myself into? If I only knew that you would go running away, that you think love's a game you can play. I thought that I was somehow immune to your charms, but I didn't realize you're taking over my heart till it was too late to stop. What it was, oh, everything I said to you, it's hard to believe it was all true. What did I get myself into? If I only knew, and everything I've said to you, I've had my suspicions, now I got through. What did I get myself into? If I only knew. I love you, man. I love you, everything I've said to you, it's hard to believe was all true. What did I get myself into? If I only knew, and everything I've said to you, I've had my suspicions, now I got through. What did I get myself into? If I only knew. I love you, babe. Peace.
561 Music is brought to you by Handlebars Bar and Grill. It's a biker bar in Tequesta, and if you're driving up US 1, you come across it on the right-hand side. It's a little bar there. It's bright yellow. You can't miss it with handlebars on the sign. And it has a long and storied history. It's been there. It used to be called Judy's, and it was run by this guy Victor, who sadly passed this year, R.I.P. Victor. And then my father-in-law took it over, and he's doing a great job up there. There is a bike night every second Thursday of the month, and there is a jam every fourth Sunday of the month. If you're interested in that kind of thing, it's just an all-inclusive, any kind of music, any style, any ability type of a jam. And there's great beers on tap, and they're wonderful food. Bernsey, the chef, does a fantastic job. If you're interested in classic cars or classic bikes, there's always that kind of stuff hanging around there. It attracts that sort of a crowd because it's called Handlebars Bar and Grill, so it makes sense. And yeah, you should come swing by. It's definitely a local spot and has a lot of character. And there's people who have been going there for decades and decades. It's one of those places that's a part of the furniture in Tequesta, and you should definitely come check it out. I booked the music for the place, and love doing it, and I was a part of helping set the place up, and I'm a huge fan. And anyone who is interested in biker bars, or even if you've just never been to one and you're curious about what a biker bar is about, you should go and check out Handlebars Bar and Grill. We are also sponsored by Oasis Root. Now, Oasis Root Kava Bar is in Sea Grape Square on Indiantown Rd, and it is a kava bar. If you don't know anything about kava, it's a Polynesian root that you grind up and you mix with water, and it has been in Polynesia for potentially thousands of years. It's an old thing that they used for kind of ceremonial and also sort of leisure purposes. It's meant to be something where, that brings people together. You all take a shell of kava and chink them together and say bula and have it together like that. It's meant to be something to bring people together. It's has a kind of an effect, which is, I guess, a kind of a slightly warming effect. It just kind of makes you feel nice. It's not particularly intoxicating. It's not like drinking alcohol. So the atmosphere in a kava bar is sort of like a cross between a regular bar and a coffee house. It's pretty chill in there. You get all sorts of different types of kava bars. Some of them are more like a club, there's sort of like black light and EDM playing, and some of them are more like a cafe. This is one of the cafe type of ones. It's super chill in there. If you're looking for somewhere to, I don't know, maybe go and do some work on your laptop or go and have a chat with friends, it's perfect for that kind of thing. There's a foosball table in there if that's your jam, or baby-foot as they call it in France. And Jim, the owner, is a really cool guy, and he has very kindly sponsored our podcast. So thank you very, very much for that, Jim. They also do a poker night in there, all sorts of things going on at Oasis Root Kava Bar. 561 Music is brought to you by Live Music Community. It is a fantastic school that I work at, and Justin Hucker runs.
Sorry, I didn't get to the control in time.
That's okay. And I teach here, and is run by Justin Hucker, who is a fantastic teacher and also really incredible at just building bands and explaining to them everything that goes into being in a band, from writing your own material to recording it to making videos to anything that can go wrong during a gig, to picking set lists. We teach them covers here. We also just teach them the whole business of what it's like being in a band.
Yeah. I think what makes Live Music Community very unique, unlike other music schools and stuff, is in a lot of situations, there's a lot of music schools where you learn the lessons and you learn how to play the music and stuff like that. And here they put the kids, like-minded kids that are similar ages, in smaller band situations, and so they learn how to write music, how to deal with bandmates, how to deal with equipment going awry. Not just learn this song and play it. So it's very unique, and they get to play gigs and they get to do all that kind of stuff. But it's learning how to be in a band and not just be a musician.
Yeah, so we can, essentially sort of send them out into the world as a unit.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
And we do private lessons here. We also we're recording this podcast here right now.
Sure.
And we do studio sessions if you want to come record your band, or if you want to put together an EPK, or just record some kind of promotional material for yourself.
Yep. There's a green screen here. You can do music videos here. It's pretty full service. So
yeah, very all-encompassing in terms of the multimedia aspect.
Yeah.
And I have to say that I look forward to coming into work every day. We've got a great team, and it's a lot of fun. We're all good buds, and we have a good time here. So if you want to come and check it out, it's the northwest corner of North Lake and Military Trail.
Yeah, Live Music Community. Yeah, check them out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, Ben, could you tell us a little bit about the songs that you just played us?
Cool. So those are the first two that I released this year. So Capture Feelings and I Love You Bad. And I think I Love You Bad lyrically was a poem.
Right.
That I wrote sophomore and junior year of high school. I was really really old, and it was about like being kind of suspicious of a girlfriend I had at the time, rightfully so, and eventually, but it was one of those kind of like, I don't, this isn't a song to me yet, but a couple years later it was a song. I felt kind of ready for it.
So you ended up being vindicated.
I was right eventually, but
right.
I felt kind of like an asshole in the moment for being suspicious. Like, but Capture Feelings is sort of about like a picture is cool, and sometimes it can kind of take you back to the feeling you had in the moment, and sometimes it can't.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's sort of about that wish
to crystallize
the wish
a
to
moment.
crystallize a moment. Yeah, like I moved to Philadelphia fall of 2018, and 2 weeks before I was there, I was swiping on Tinder like youths do, and I met my girlfriend at the time, so I pretty much moved there already talking to a girl.
Right.
So it was kind of just about like, dang, I'm here, like I moved out and now I got a girlfriend, and it's all happening very fast, and I wish I could kind of like crystallize this moment one day so I could just like give this to somebody so they can feel what I'm like, or I can just kind of dive back into it whenever I want. Like I wish I had that.
Yeah.
'Cause love's beautiful, man. Like that's kind of what that one's about. So that's kind of why I chose to release that one first. I just like it for that reason. Like I kind of treat the song as that kind of little portal. I don't know if it works necessarily every time, but sometimes it does when I'm thinking, especially if she's there at the show and I'm doing it. I can see her and be like, this is it's still happening. You know,
that's
like,
great.
takes me right back. You know? She still likes me.
That's awesome. So the way that you use your electronic equipment is quite unique and organic. Can you tell us a little bit about how your thought process in putting together your gear and how that all works?
Yeah, and with bands, right? Like I've started a couple bands in my past, and like those were great. And I knew like I'm a guitar player and I'm a singer and I write songs. It kind of made me an inevitable frontman in all the bands I was kind of in.
Yeah.
So when I wanted to kind of reach out and start making my own solo stuff, originally I wanted to do an Ableton Live set. I'm really into artists like FKJ.
Yeah.
He's done some of the coolest live looping stuff. And I'm not quite there yet with the level of control he's attained, but we're on the way. Like we're not that far. Like we're getting there. But sometimes I loop and I don't feel like looping. Like I tried a bunch of different things at gigs in Philly. And anytime I'd get a call from my dad, he'd be like, "How was the gig?" And it was good, but I'm experimenting. It's not really, I don't know what I'm trying to get out of it yet. So I don't know if it successfully did or did not get that, but I hope they enjoyed what I did.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's been a lot. The gear fundamentally affects what the show kind of is with an electronic setup.
Why don't we take a look at your gear now?
Sure.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, seeing as we're talking about it.
Cool.
Yeah.
So on the right, that's the Akai Force.
Yeah.
And it's similar to like an MPC or Ableton Live, in the sense that each of those clips can be, each of those buttons can be a loop within, or it can be a whole song.
Yeah.
And the main kind of mentality I have with that is that I want to be able to jam on songs, and it's a fantastic live looping tool, like a very advanced live looper.
That was something that I noticed in your performance, was that it did have a very jammy aspect to it, which is something which is nice, because sometimes when you see people doing electronic live things, it seems pretty kind of almost just, you know, they press go and like change a couple of
change
things.
and change effects, like and I've done. I have an SP404 by Roland, which is cool. It's a little sampler, and I did 2 or 3 gigs like that, essentially, where you press it and then you put some effects on.
Yeah.
And to be honest, the audience, I got way more audience approaching me after the show for that gig, talking about the songs are great, I love your voice, and all this stuff. Where with some of the looping sets I've done, I brought all this gear, and it was all like musicians like, bro, it's a sweet pedal board, man, and stuff. But no, random people that were just there being like, wow, I really like your songs. So that for a while I was trying to figure out a way to get the balance right, because the looping I would go like I had every song set up where it's like, okay, it's got the verse and it's got the chorus and it's got and I have the chorus ready and the bridge ready, but I got to build up this whole big verse. And it just kind of kept building on that. And eventually the idea was like, I want every song in the Force. So every song on my discography I've put out, all my beat tapes, all my covers, all my remixes, they're all in there under the same format where I've got an outro and intro, and they've got little snippets. So I've got like a 4-bar loop from somewhere in the song. It could be the intro, but it can be anywhere. I don't really have a preference. So I can kind of keep the drums going from the outro of the last song, send it, start the new melody of the new song. Maybe I'll put some echo or something, and then I can change the tempo till it's right. And
that was something that
fun.
I liked, where when you changed the tempo sort of mid-set there, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, in Ableton, there's BPM per scene with you, so if I press the button and launch the next song, it would change it if I told it to.
Yeah.
But I kind of, you can't do that on the Force, but I like, as time has gone on, I'm looking at it not as a limitation, but just part of the way you transition between songs, it just kind of gives me that element. The Launchpad is cool because it's just handling control of the synth sounds over with the Force, but I just pick it up over USB, which is great. It's basically a little mobile DAW, if you will, a little mobile recording studio.
Right.
And I've brought that all over the world with me, so it's a little dinged up. Like I've had that a couple years, so every time I've kind of gone anywhere, I usually take it with me because you just don't. I kind of see the Force itself. I could do all the instrumentation the same exact way on the Force, the way I do on the Launchpad. But
You're
it
very
just frees
fluid
up
on
a
it.
hand. Yeah, it just frees up a hand a little bit and allows me to control all my navigation with the Force and then all my notes with the Launchpad.
I think the way you were playing it was pretty impressive. You're very fluent.
Thanks,
on
boss.
it.
Yeah, it's similar to guitar, but it is a little different where you kind of get used to it over time. But I was attracted to it because of the colors.
Right.
It looks cool. It looks fun. It looked fun to play. It looks intriguing to me in a way that now piano is. Now that I've done that, like it's taken a couple years, mostly because synthesizers can be very aesthetically pleasing. Sometimes there's that I don't even want to play it. I just want to look at it. Some of them are so pretty. It's like a car or something. I would never want to drive you. I just want to touch you. But I think with a certain combo, like I have another MIDI controller that's all like button, like it's knobs you can press.
Right.
MIDI Fighter makes it's called the Twister. And that the Force is very powerful, so it has MIDI learn. I could map anything I wanted to that.
Right.
Which it would be cool. But I kind of like the 2. Just it's very hands-on. It's really easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't take up too much space.
Yeah.
And I've still got an input free if I want to loop guitar or bass or both as well. So I only loop my vocal for this set, but like if I'm going for 3 hours, I'll shred some guitar too.
Sure thing. Yeah.
Stuff like that, and maybe the jams go a little longer.
Yeah.
Like I can get on the drum track. I can get rid of the kick. I can get rid of the snare. I can do weird things. I have another drum track if I want a finger drum, and then get rid of the old drums. I can kind of do whatever I want, and that's sort of the thing that even with a band I can't do.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's the advantage that I'm finally feeling comfortable with my setup. That's the biggest thing. Like I even sent a different setup at one point in the process of setting this whole thing up. Like, and that setup was cool too. It's still cool. People liked that setup, and it was easy. It was on a board. I was one cable out. It was very simple.
I feel like with this kind of thing, with electronic music like this, and with solo music in particular, your sound ends up being dictated by what you're using.
A lot of it,
and the whole style of it. And I find every time that I switch up my gear with my solo set, the whole sound world that you're in control of, changes, and it changes the kind of performance you give and the kind of aesthetic that you're presenting to the audience.
Yeah, and it needs to feel it's whatever you're most comfortable with.
Yeah.
That's you need to know where everything is.
Yeah.
Like I really know how to operate the Force. That's first of all, it's called the Force.
Yeah.
And I can say I'm playing the Force, or if I'm controlling a synth with it, it's like yes,
Using the Force.
I'm using the Force. The nerd in me, the weeb in me, just feels so cool playing it. But it really feels like an instrument. Like I've sent a click track to a drummer many times, and we'll go for like 2 hours. Just everything's made up, and I can make up a whole song. And I think FKJ I brought up, he's very Ableton based, and he shows off all his multi-instrumentalism. And Mark Rebelet is kind of he's a looper. Dude in the bathrobe all the time. Like he's had the same setup in every video that he's ever put out. And that every time I like want to change something, I think about that because he just knows it.
Yeah.
It's really intuitive. And so changing it is cool, and I do different things with it. What I like about the Force is I can control another synth with it if I want to. I can add things into the ecosystem that is the Force, but I don't have to change my whole workflow around not having it, you know? So that's sort of a lot of it's dictated by gear, but I will say, like, a lot of people use the Force, and a lot of people make, like, drum and, like, just very different music on it.
Sure, yeah.
My background is not electronic music.
Yeah.
You know? It's like, it all has to be a good song first. That would be good acoustically, and they're all written. Sometimes I'll write them in reverse. So you make a whole arrangement for a song that does not yet exist, and then that might write something kind of for you. It just kind of appears. But oftentimes it's a song that was already a song that I already liked, and now how do I want to arrange it? What are the colors I want to add to it?
Yeah.
And that is a lot. Once the song's written, recording takes like 10 minutes for me sometimes because it's just I know what I want to do.
Yeah.
So I think knowing your gear is just a byproduct of that. Like knowing what you want to do and getting better at doing it really quickly.
Yeah.
And that's sort of the thing. Like I've tried so many different setups. I've tried it with Ableton, and I will say Ableton gives me almost the exact same workflow the Force does. I did almost the exact. I had a push 2 and the same launch pad, doing the same duties in it. You know, it's the same thing. However, the difference is that that's your laptop on stage. Like that was my computer. And I record everything with that for the most part, and that was incredibly terrifying.
Oh, I'm right there with you. I've been there. I know exactly what you mean.
I could like see the beer. I see the beer. Like a dude spilt it, and it got on my MIDI controllers and not on the laptop. And I just wiped them away. They were fine. But it's really, really terrifying, and you hope people are away. Like I've watched about a bajillion Boiler Room videos. And all the hardware ones, they just look a little less stressed out.
For sure.
Anytime it's just a little SP, or they're using just a sampler or something.
I hate bringing my computer. I hate bringing my laptop.
I just don't, especially because it's so hard to replace not the computer, but everything on it. Yeah. Like you back it up every time you do something, but maybe there's something in the plugin that you have on that version of the computer, and then you try to open it on the one. You might lose that even if you've backed it up. That's, I guess, my point. Like, it's hard to lose that.
Yeah, no, like, gig-worthy, sort of solid, well-built hardware is what it's all about, man.
Yeah. And there's, Gibraltar makes, like, a really cool mounting stand that I can put it in. So I like all that with it. What I'm kind of still figuring out with it is just making it like my thing, you know, just to like letting people know, like, this is a good machine. I'm pretty comfortable with it. I hope you like watching me use it, just using it more live, you know. Just doing it. But I think a lot of my first year or so, like my first gig I played was solo, and I said my first gig, but I did acoustic stuff as like maybe I stopped at like 13 because I started bands. I was like, I just want to rock. But then I got older, and one of my first real like solo set with this stuff was probably October of last year.
Right.
So then everything in Philly I considered figuring it out. Like it's not like this is not the finished product.
Yeah.
The songs are good. I had enough stuff done, but it's the live show is going to evolve and evolve and evolve and evolve.
But I have to say you come a long way with it, and one of the we've had Ricky Bobby came on and did like quite a long time ago, about 9 months ago now, and did a very impressive looping set. And we had a couple of other people who were really sort of on top of their gear. You know, I'd put you right up there with that, in the sense that you seemed like you've mastered it. You know what you're doing with it, which is really cool to watch. And you know, like I was saying, you can get when it comes to people using equipment like that, it can be super dull or not, you know, or you can go the extra mile and actually know how to use it and be able to jam with it, which you can, which is cool.
Yeah, that's the hope. The hope is people are like, and granted, most shows I've played, I'm the only person like me on the bill.
Yeah.
You know, I've played 0 beat sets or anything like that yet. Like, I did one where there was they had a singer and a guy playing with like an Ableton setup.
Yeah.
But like they would end a song and then start the next song.
Yeah,
you know, it's
exactly.
still cool, still very cool, very fun. I really enjoyed what they did within the song.
Yeah.
But no one where it's like, check out this blob that I've created. Where
Yeah,
it
for
just
sure.
kind of like,
It's rad.
it's just liquid and blends together.
I dig it.
That's the fun. Yeah, I'm glad you liked it. You want to feel comfortable with your gear, so glad that comes off.
It does. Have you got anything coming up that we need to know about?
So a bunch of covers are coming out in a couple, hopefully. I know Whole Lotta Love, the first one, I just got an email about it like an hour ago. So
Yeah.
covers like kind of get cleared differently. I use DistroKid to put my stuff out. It's crazy. It's like $10 a year for unlimited original music, but each cover's $12 a year, so it's immediately more cost effective to drop your own music. But I just love certain songs in the catalog of just music that came before me that I found formative. I thought could use the original version is always going to be the S tier one that I wanted to cover, but I did Whole Lotta Love, Led Zeppelin, Baba O'Reilly, The Who, Ooh Baby Baby, Smokey Robinson and the Miracles, and I Know I'm Losing You, The Temptations, and I'll probably do more covers in the future, but that's kind of what is coming out in the next couple days.
Cool.
And then a bunch of other, I've got probably 20 songs left to release this year in my Song a Week series, so what has come out so far this year, I have 2 series. One's completed, one is ongoing, one might say. So I've got my Song a Week series. So that's the last one I dropped for that was called Rolls, which was an instrumental. So that was a couple weeks ago now. I was moving, so then it's like influx. And then I dropped like about a bajillion beat tapes. So my Tweet Tape series, it's got little penguins, is completely out now. So that's 1 through 6.
Cool.
And I'll probably get started on the next series of beat tapes soon and just kind of hold on to them for a minute.
Right.
And so that's kind of what I'm kind of gearing myself toward now, is just trying to get people to listen to the 2 different series as a whole. Like, and
everyone finds that under Ben Rothschild.
Ben Rothschild, everywhere. And if you're having trouble finding my links, it's benrothschildmusic.com if it's hard to find. ROTHSCHILD. And yeah, it's like it's one of those I'm trying to think of how to put it. Like, I've got a bunch of stuff done, but they're all coming out as individual songs. It's not an album or anything. So then I can kind of let people listen to them for a while and just take my time making my first album for whenever I want to put that out.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like, if anyone's heard of King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard, I just want to be them, but one guy. Just,
right.
Like, people are just like, how does he put all that stuff out? Like, he should chill. This is getting a little bit much for me to get into. It's like, well, I'm sorry. Just hopefully you like whatever you hear, and then there's a wealth of other stuff to like. You know, that's
cool,
how
man.
I look at it. So I just want to put a bunch of stuff out, and hopefully by the
like
time the
Bowie,
album's done,
you know, throw enough shit at the wall and see what sticks.
hopefully by that album I'm kind of done with synths. You know, I want to make a rock album. I want to make a beatless album with no drums. So probably no synth too. Like, that'd probably be all like kind of Fleet Foxes, beautiful harmony, acoustics. Like, I just this is where I'm at right now, but there's no genre that I feel comfortable saying to people other than pop.
Sure.
You know, like, I guess pop if I have to.
Yeah.
I make my music.
It's a nice generic genre.
It's generic enough, you know. Who isn't pop music when you really think about it? If
enough people like it, if it's popular, it's
you
pop.
know, it's catchy, it's colorful. I hope it's enjoyed. You know, that's all I can really think besides pop. You know, but that takes a lot more to say than the one syllable pop. You know.
Yeah, totally.
Or bops, but I feel like other people have to tell you that your song is a bop. You can't. You can set out to make bops, but you can't be told by yourself. You know.
This is true, man.
Yeah.
All right. Well, what have we got coming up? We've got on Friday, August 5th, so that would be, if you're listening to this on Friday morning, that is tonight. We're playing from 7 to 10 at Sailfish Brewery in Fort Pierce. Yeah. And that's full band. I'm really looking forward to that. It's a great spot. We play outside there, don't we? On
really fun spot, yeah.
Yeah. And then on Saturday, James and I, the Killbillies duo, are playing at the Square Grouper from 3 to 6. And then I am playing Island Route Kava Bar on my own in Jensen Beach. And I've never played that one. I'm looking forward to it. I always play the Stewart one. So apparently the Jensen Beach one is the cool one. So if anyone wants to come and check me out, playing at a Kava Bar in Jensen Beach, it's at Island Route from 9 to midnight. And that's me doing my solo stuff. And then, that's it. That's what we've got going on this weekend. Yeah.
I forgot I have a show. Actually, I do have a show. So last weekend in I guess it's Clematis. Yeah, I think I haven't been there before, but it's on Clematis. I'm there next Friday, August 12th. Yeah, 9 to 12. I'll be throwing down. So if you liked the set, that's those two usually pair together at some point in the set. So
yeah, wicked.
I'll do them into Whole Lot of Love into something.
Cool, man.
Keep jamming, yeah. Come dance.
Did Joe Cole book you on that one?
Yeah, Joe booked me. Yeah.
He's a good lad. We play there occasionally too. It's a good spot.
Yeah, should be fun. Looking forward to it. Come dance.
Yeah. Well, listen. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's been a pleasure seeing you again. It's been a minute.
It's been a minute.
And good luck with it all. And I'm sure I'll see you around and about. Now you live down here again?
Back down, so I'll see you. I'll definitely, be at a show too.
And it's, as always, 561 Music actually 561music.com, my bad. 561music.com's got all our links, it's got all the episodes, all the past episodes, catch up on some past episodes if you haven't seen it. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. The more subscribers we have, eventually we can monetize, and if we monetize, we can put that money back into the podcast and kind of keep fulfilling the mission of the podcast, which is basically just shedding a light on local artists. So, yep. And then that
and getting you more tattoos.
More tattoos for sure. It's never a bad thing. But like and subscribe the YouTube channel. All our socials are at 561 Music Podcast. Regardless of which social channel you're on. And 561music.com. So
yeah, man.
Yeah. Until next time, guys.
Yeah. Thanks so much for coming, man.
Thanks for having me. Yeah. Killer. Cool.
Talking about a scene, it's what we're doing. Come and check it out, it's what we're